I'm George Pearson, and these are just a few examples from some of the training videos I have here on YouTube. Now, when you're working with the training, following along the training, if you want to get the materials I used in the training, just go to the description down below and click on the link that's at the top of the description, and this will take you to a page where you can download the materials. Please subscribe, click the like button, and of course always share on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the video. In this Photoshop Elements video, we'll be making this text look like it's made out of jeans material, or the denim style material. Okay, let's go ahead and get to work on this. This whole thing will be done here inside of Photoshop Elements. We're not using any outside images at all on this one. Let me just close that out of the way. We'll start off with making a brand new file, so File, New, and Blank File. And I'll leave mine at the default Photoshop Elements size, which is 6x4 at a resolution of 300 pixels per inch, which is correct for printing. If you want to use this for the internet or the web, simply do a save for web later on when you're finished with the project. Okay, I'll just choose OK, and there we go. There's our beginning file. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to set my foreground and background colors, and to make this easy, make sure that you have only web colors selected, just like that. And we want, for our foreground color, pretty easy one here, this is 3399 CC. And it's that one right there, easy to find. Choose OK. Now for the background, click on the background color right down there, bottom left hand corner. And this one you want to set at 006699. And again, on the web only colors, it's the one that's right in that area there. And choose OK. So there's our foreground and background color. We're going to be changing the background towards the end of this, but to start off with, let's just fill this with our foreground color. Click on the paint bucket and fill. And that gives you just a nice clean color to work with, kind of begin working here. Okay, let's take this layer and duplicate the layer, drag it to the new layer button, just like that. There's our duplicate. You can hide the background for now. On this one, we're going to make this into our basic denim pattern. We'll start off with going up to the filter and then filter gallery right there. Now what you want in here is sketch and halftone pattern. Just got a little dot pattern in there. Now the sizes for this, set your pattern type at dot, put contrast at 0, and put size at 4. So size 4, contrast 0, pattern type dot, halftone pattern, and choose OK. You can just kind of this little subtle dot patterning in here. Now we don't want dots, we want lines, so you want to stretch this out or smear this out into lines. And we'll do that with a motion blur. Go up here to the filter menu, come down to blur and motion blur right there. On this one, set your angle at -45 and distance at 38 pixels. And choose OK. That just kind of spreads it out. If I zoom in now, you'll see I have this nice little kind of diagonal line patterning going on in here. Okay, set this back to actual pixels. There's your nice large line patterning, and then fit on screen. I'm going to rename this. Let's just call this one base pattern so we know what we're talking about right there. Okay, now let's do another new layer here, new layer just like that. And you're going to be filling this layer with something. I'll start off with filling it with our foreground color. Click on the paint bucket and just fill it with the foreground color. This is going to be our clouds layer. And the clouds are used to help just give us some variation, some variety. So clouds layer, filled with foreground color. Go up to filter and come down to render and clouds. Now notice that the clouds are made up of the foreground and the background color. It uses those two colors to make this random cloud effect. The reason we filled this with the foreground color first is that you have to have something on the layer to fill it with the cloud pattern. If it's just transparent, it won't give you anything. Okay, here's our clouds. Let's now blend this layer into our base pattern layer. We'll set the opacity to 50%, and we're going to blur this out a little bit. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I have mine set at 40 pixels. Just kind of softens up the effect and just gives us some variety, some variation in there. There we go. Now I want to merge these layers together. So one last thing, I'm going to go up here to the blending modes and change this to multiply, and that just multiplies this into that. So we have our pattern. I'm going to zoom in again so you can see here. It gives us a pattern and just a slight variation in there. Okay, set back to fit on screen. I want to copy these to a new layer. So this is a little special trick. Hold down the Control, the Shift, the Alt keys, and the E key. I hit it twice by accident. Let me just get rid of that one. There we go. And it makes a duplicate of these two combined. So we have a new layer up here. Now this, let's just rename this one. This is going to be the merged pattern. And you can now hide these two layers. So there we go. There's our pattern to work with. Let me just bring up that keyboard shortcut so you can see what I'm talking about here. Do with that Control, Alt, Shift, and E key system. And there it is. On Windows, Control, Alt, Shift, and the E. Upper or lowercase doesn't matter. And on the Macintosh, Command, Option, Shift, E. And what that does is it combines your visible layers into a new layer and leaves the other layers alone. Okay, there it is. There's our merged pattern layer. Okay, now we're going to add a bit of texture onto this thing and improve the look quite a bit. So go up here to Filter, and make sure I'm on the right layer. There we go. Okay, Filter and Filter Gallery again. This time let's close the sketch down. Let's open Texture up and go to Grain. I want the intensity at 40, contrast at 81, and choose OK. And I can really see that pattern in there. If I zoom in just a little bit, there you can really see that patterning, and it looks much more like denim at this point. Okay, let's just fit on screen one more time. Alright, so there's our merge pattern. That's going to be the main pattern we'll use for our lettering. Now we can create a text layer. So I'm going to grab the Type tool. I have mine set at Impact Regular, and we'll set the size at 135 and the color all set to white. There we go. So Impact Regular. This is a real standard typeface. If you don't have it, you probably already do. If you don't have it, you can find that on the internet for free. Just do Impact Regular font and you'll find that. Okay, I'll click right in the middle here someplace, and then I'll just type in all uppercase jeans, just like that. Click on the check and bring that in. Now I want to space these out by one space. Click in between, hit the space bar, between space bar, and space. We're just kind of spacing them out a little bit, and then get so it fits nicely onto the page. Okay, now I'll be using this to cut out some of this background here from our merge pattern to create our actual lettering. We'll also use this as the basis to create our stitching. Okay, so to get the lettering first, we're going to want to select these letters. So hold down the Control key and click on the icon, and that selects your lettering, just like that. Let's now go up to Select, come down to Modify and Expand, and set this to 20 pixels and choose OK. That makes that larger by 20 pixels. Now come down to the merged pattern layer right here, and we're going to copy this to a new layer. So Layer, New, Layer via Copy, and that gives us the selection that we just made filled with this merge pattern. You can now hide the merge pattern, and we have that. I'm going to just bring back up our background here just to have some color in behind there. So there's that. We now want to do our stitching on top of this. Go back up to the lettering up here. Make a copy of the letter at this point. Just copy this up to the new layer button like that. There's our copy. You can hide the original and right click where the name is on this one and simplify layer. So it's just the image of this text. We'll now be putting an outline around this. So we'll go up to layers to be a layer style again. So layer and layer style, style settings, and we're doing a stroke. Set the stroke to size 7, and then we'll be changing the color, kind of an orange color. Click on the color icon in there, and we're doing kind of an orangey color. It's that one right there. So they come into the top of the oranges here in this upper right hand corner, or FFCC00. And that gives you that nice kind of an orange color effect. And choose OK. There we go. So that just makes that orange in there. Now I want to simplify this down a second time. So right click on the layer and simplify layer. So that gets rid of that as being an outline effect and just makes it part of the graphic. Now after we've done that, we can delete the white part of the letters and just leave that orange outline, which is our stitching outline. Grab the magic wand and just click inside of each one of the letters and hit the delete key. Just like that. There we go. And then deselect that last one. So if I zoom in now, you see we have just this nice outline here as just a line of text. Now we need to break this up into the little stitching bits. And we'll do that in a couple of ways. We'll do the horizontals first in the easy way, and then go back in and clean it up a little bit and do the rest of it as well. So starting off here, I want to put in a couple of guidelines and go up to the View menu, come down to New Guide, and set this at 7px. And that's a horizontal new guide. That's 7 pixels. Choose OK. Let's do another one. View, New Guide, and then 15px. That's 15 pixels. What that does is it gives us a space in there that's 8 pixels wide, which is just 1 pixel thicker than the lines are down here. Now grab the rectangular marquee tool and then come down here and go onto the top line right up here. I'm going to zoom in so you can really see what I'm doing here. It's kind of hard to see that, it's so small. There we go. So I'm coming in and I'm going right onto the line. Just like that. Now if you have snap-on, snap-to guides, this should be a lot easier. So just come right on that line, pull down and then over, and it should snap to that bottom line, and then pull that straight across. When you get out past the image like this, it's going to automatically scroll the picture over, and we'll just let it go ahead and scroll along like that. We'll be doing this clear across the whole thing. So that's the basic idea here. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out now, and we'll redo that a little bit larger size so it's easier to get the whole thing done quickly. There we go. So there's our line, and there's the text down below. So come to the top line here, pull down to the bottom line, pull over, and then let it automatically scroll clear to the right hand side. And once you're off the page, let go. So that gives you that selection right there, this little rectangle that's exactly 8 pixels tall. Now leaving the marquee selected over here, we can now use the arrow keys or the cursor keys and move that selection just like that. I'm just holding down my down arrow key, and it pulls the selection down. We'll now use this to create those spaces between the stitches. Okay, the first one, I want this just below that top line. So we're on the top line here. I'll come down just below the top line. And let's zoom in just a little bit, see a bit better. Okay, that's right just below the top line. Go back over here, make sure you're on the jeans copy. I'm going to rename this one as the stitches layer right there. And hit the delete key, and it just cuts out a little bit like that. Okay, make sure you're still on the rectangular marquee tool. Again, hold the arrow key down and move it down so you get something, kind of like that. If you think of this top piece as being two pieces, if that was cut in half and you have two pieces, make this piece about as long as half of that is, or about the same size as the space in here, something around there. Doesn't need to be exact, but something around like that. Hit the delete key again, and it gives us another set of spaces. And we'll just keep on doing this down, just make the sizes match like that. And just keep on moving. Now I'm just looking over at the J on this side. Now if you end up like this, where you're on top of a line like that, you want to just bring it just past the line. Like, there we go. Okay, and I'll just keep on moving this on down. Again, I'm looking over at the J, keeping them as even as I can on the J side. Don't worry about the other things in here. This will look fine. Hit the delete key, and then let's continue on down on this. And the delete key one more time. And we're just about there. Now at this point I'm going to set it, you see, if I go above this over here, left hand side on the J, it comes in on top of that one. So I'm just going to take it down time past the left side on the J, and we'll clean that up a little bit later. What you don't want to do is you don't want to cut any of these horizontal lines. That's the main idea here. Okay, we'll just continue on down towards the bottom of the J down here, and we'll come down to about there, hit the delete key, and that's pretty good. That takes care of the horizontal ones. We can now just deselect that. Now we have these, which will take vertical cuts in them. And the horizontal lines will take vertical cuts. There's a few of those we want to clean up. Our corners. So let's now move over to the eraser tool, and it's probably set up brush. So go in here, double click where it says 9 right there on the top. These are the hard edge. Double click on that. Change that to an 8 so it matches the thickness we used with our horizontal selection, and then change the type to block. See, there's our little block shape. Now if we zoom in about one notch, we should see that block shape is just the right size. You can see there it is, just the right size, and that matches what we did before. We can now come in and do a couple of things. We're going to be cleaning out the corners, just knocking out the corners like that, and if we have something which is too long, we'll just cut that piece down to a little bit shorter section. Now on corners like this, just kind of pull it through like that. On little corner things here, you want to just knock off that little edge so it looks like a straight piece. These won't be exact necessarily, but that's okay. It'll look fine once we get everything done here. If it's too sharp like this, just cut the corner off like that. Just roll up here. Okay, let's move over to the next one. Again, same thing. I'm cutting off the corners up there, and I'll cut the corner off right down here, and cut that corner off, and I'll cut this one in half. There we go. And let's get our top cut. I think I can make this into thirds. Just do one there and do one there. And down here we're on the E right now. Let's cut that corner off and cut this corner off. I'll cut that in half to match that. Let's cut this corner off. I'll leave the little piece there, that's fine. Cut that corner off. And come on down, cut this corner off and that corner off. You can cut these in half if you want. If it looks too long, you can just cut those in half. A little shorter stitch is okay around these pieces. Let me just clean it up a little bit there. Okay, down here, cut this corner off and cut that corner off, and let's cut this into thirds, kind of like that. Okay, here's the A. Again, same thing. Just cutting off the corners. And if it's too long, we'll cut it into smaller pieces. Cut these corners off. knock out the little top piece right there. And cut these corners off. And if I can cut this, well, maybe thirds again. Kind of like that. Okay, last bit is the N and then the S. Same thing, just cut the corners off and make sure these aren't too long. There you go, just cut those off like that. And just knock the tip off of that, and I'll knock the tip off of that one. Looks pretty good. Same thing down here, come down and knock the corners off the line. Let's cut those in half. And then finally the S. Now the S is a little bit trickier. So with these little kind of sharp points, just knock the corners off of that sharp point and let's cut that long piece. And over here, I don't want to have this kind of a curve like that happening. So I'm just going to take this whole corner off like that and take that one off very carefully. Cut that in half. Cut these sharp corners off there and there. This loop is okay down here. This one I don't really want to have any loops here, so I'm going to cut that one, just it'll cut like that. And let's take these corners off in here. I think I'll knock off those little pieces and knock the edges, little points off, and I'll cut that in half. And cut this one in half. And that should be pretty good. Okay, let's now set this back to fit on screen. And there we go, there's the stitching effect. And at this point we can get rid of these guidelines. So view and clear guides. Now I want to improve the quality of the stitches, and we'll do that by adding a layer effect onto the stitches layer. Go up to layer, layer style, style settings, and we'll do a bevel on this one. And we're going to be doing a size. This is kind of a default size, as you can see in here. And set for direction up. Choose OK. And that just adds a little bit of a three-dimensional effect onto that. If I just zoom in a bit, there goes kind of a nice three-dimensional effect onto those. All right, let's set this back to fit on screen. We now need to have our brads in here on the corners. And that is done with an effect. Over here to the graphics, and we're in by type and graphics, and about a quarter of the way, third of the way down, there's this thing right here. If I scroll up a little bit, there's all these interesting different graphics in here that come with Photoshop elements. Some of these have a little blue triangle. See the little upper hand corner? That means that it hasn't been downloaded to your computer yet. If you happen to see a little blue triangle on this, just double click and it will download your computer, then you're set. Okay, double click on this, and that brings up this huge brad thing. Now if you're still on the layer here for the stitches, this should not be the top layer. Let's just double check, go to layers, and there it is. That's top, that's just fine. Alright, I'm going to be zooming in now a little bit here. And let's take this, and I'll grab the corner, and I'll bring it down so it's about half the height of this piece here, maybe a little less, right in there. So it's kind of would fit in here real nice and clean, just like that. And I'll put that right on the corner here, just overlapping those stitches, and choose OK. All right, now we have that set. I'll just back out one jump here, and let's put the rest of these in. This is real fast and easy. We first want to put a little shadow on these things. So back up here to layer, layer style, style settings, drop shadow. Leave it at the defaults, that's fine, choose OK. And then take this layer, new layer button, and that duplicates it, and just drag it up here to the upper right hand corner. There we go. And just keep on doing that. We'll just go corner to corner. So go to this corner here and drag it down to this corner down here. Drag it up this corner and just go along doing 2 of these brads per letter. And as you can see, I'm just going matching corners. There we go. And then diagonal corners. And finish off with our last two. The S is just kind of over here someplace. And up here somewhere. Looks pretty good. Okay, let's now zoom out. We're just about done, as you can see. Last two things. Let's give a drop shadow to our letters themselves. So go to the jeans layer right there where it says jeans. That's our layer. It's our basic text layer. I'm going to just change that name to text. And let's do another layer style. Layer style settings. Drop shadow. Now set the size here to 10 and the distance to 9, and that will fit nicely on this image. Just a little drop shadow in there. Okay, second to last thing, let's change this background color, make it a bit more pleasing. Now I can either use this background if you want to. It doesn't look too bad. It has those little lines in it. That's our base pattern. So you can use that one, or you can use a solid background. And I like going just for a darker color on the solar background here, and we'll just reverse these colors and use that color here. Or if you want, you can choose any color you like. That's fine. Maybe we can do the 3366, which is, let's see, 003366. That's a nice dark rich color in there, and I'll fill that background. So just nice dark background makes the letters easier to see, and we're all done. Last thing, if you're not really happy with the value of your lettering in here, you can change the values with an adjustment layer right here. Go up here to layer, come down to new adjustment layer and levels, and check where it says use previous layer to create clipping mask. Choose OK, and now you can use the left side control to darken it down a little bit, and then pull the middle back and forth, and you can adjust your values in here. So this is the way I would change the values if I wanted to change the quality of that blue in there. I'd use an adjustment layer. Again, not required. So there it is. That's how to do this jeans effect here inside of Photoshop Elements. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. If you like this video, click on the like button below to let others know. You can click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. I'm frequently uploading new training videos. Don't forget to check out my website at howtogurus.com. You can share this video with your friends and coworkers. Just click on share and then click on the social media buttons. Feel free to comment on my videos. I try to answer all comments as quickly as I can.